All right, just back from cruising and time to pay some attention to the truck, which hasn't moved in a month. Airbags are completely sagged. Fortunately, I have brand new springs for it, and more excitingly, brand new seats. Actually, a bunch of brand new parts because I'm going to do quite a bit of work to it in the next little while. But the seats are really a significant thing for me because, my goodness, these seats are only a couple of years old. But you drive all over North America, and those Brit-Part seats don't last too long. But I have brand new seats. Unfortunately, they're also, well, they're also Brit-Part. But they'll last a while. Maybe they make them better now. Cheers, let's get them in. Okay. I don't know what you can see in there, but that is the much improved new seats for the truck. Now, you'll probably notice that the center seat isn't sitting quite right because it's actually not sitting in any sort of a bracket right now, because I've modified these brackets to be much higher and much further back than original, and I haven't done anything similar for the center seat, which I might do. Anyway, time to get the canvas off. It's fall, and time to move back to the hardtop. All right, in the blink of the eye, it's back in winter mode. I really shouldn't say winter because you really don't get winter in Victoria, but we do get rain, so the hardtop and the tonneau makes a little more sense for this. Really, would love to get a paint job on this poor thing. It's due. It's given me good service over the last several years, driving all over the place, and I think I'd like to treat it with a new paint job. Let's just see if I can afford that. All right, I think it's beverage time. Well, back from cruising, and it's time to work on my boat again. It's mid-September, and I still have lots of varnishing to do. In fact, I haven't done any yet. Just before I left, which was a month ago, I did get most of the boat sanded and oiled, which was enough protection for that month. But it can't get through the winter on oil anymore. As I've mentioned, I have to switch to varnish over oil. So I need enough dry days between now and the rains, and in Victoria, once it starts raining, you're done. So today is sanding and staining the windshield. The windshield needs staining because it was repaired with Douglas fir, as some other places are, and to make it look at least close to the mahogany, it needs stain. So anyway, I'll easily get this done and stained today in this perfect weather. I don't know how much more perfect weather we're going to have though. All right, back to sanding. Cheers. Okay, well that'll do. The wood up here is not in great shape. It's already been repaired once with Douglas fir, and they did a reasonable job, but Douglas fir being an inferior wood, it's not going to last that long, and it's already deteriorating a bit. Anyway, so I have to blast it with a little bit of golden oak stain to bring it up to match the mahogany that's on there. I've masked the sides because, of course, I don't need to worry about staining any of that beautiful mahogany. Okay, let's get the stain on. Cheers. Okay, there we go, much better. Get some oil on there tomorrow, oil on there the next day, and then varnish. So I need about a week and a half or 2 weeks more of this weather into October. Oh well, maybe. Okay, so while some of the oil dries, let's say on the windshield, it's time to deal with the bloody fore hatch. Now this is just a wooden fore hatch. Most of the monks I've seen of this year have a nice cast bronze one with a wood trim, and the lid for it is over there. You can see it's upside down. Again, just made out of segments of wood in a radial pattern, screwed together. Not particularly well made, but it's what I have. So basically I had tidied it up last year slightly by giving it a quick sand and some really rudimentary caulking to try and keep it from leaking in a hurry last fall when it was already starting to rain. So it's time to clean all this gunky caulk out of here and get some real proper caulking in there, and sand it and oil it and varnish it like all the rest of the Brightwork. The door part, the lid, the hatch will hatch, I can do later because I can do that indoors when the weather turns nasty. But the basic ring in the foredeck I got to do now. So I'll just keep digging out all this yucky caulking. Cheers. Another sunny day in the fall, so I've got to take advantage of it and keep going on anything outdoors on the boat. So today, carrying on with the fore hatch. Talked about this before.
You can see it's got a bunch of crud all over it because I've just taken the fine tool and undercut it to make sure I can get a good clean bead of caulk under there, because I'm not going to rebed this because I don't feel like taking out all these plugs. And I've also put the fine tool through where the caulk had failed in these joints. So I'm going to put one more coat of oil on it to seal it a little bit. Not oil, sorry, varnish. I've already oiled this. And then I'm going to caulk this with 291, which is sandable, so I can sand it flush. And then a couple more coats of varnish after that should do a pretty good job of it. Again, as I've mentioned before, this hatch is not ideal, but it's here, and I think I can make it look relatively nice and functional. Hello, Goose.
Okay, well, while the varnish dries, bit of a big project. As you know, I'm building a big window here out of the wheelhouse, looking backwards across what is the bridge deck. And you know that the window passes behind the old upper bridge deck helm. That's because I'm going to replace it and make a much smaller, much tidier little helm. So it's time to take this one out. Seems like a big step, but just got to be done. The steering is a chain drive all the way down through the galley into the bilge around a shaft on pillow blocks all the way up the port side of the boat. It's quite an elaborate system, and it's all coming out. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so let's see how this looks. I got the front cover off, the wheel off, and the top sort of separate. The poor old Perkins instrument panel that basically never really worked. I don't know if you can see here, there's the connection link for the chain for the steering, so I'll just have to rotate that around and I can take the chain out easy. Lovely mess of wires. Got to take the Morse controls off. Unfortunately, the shift Morse control here acts as a relay from the downstairs helm. So this cable goes to the downstairs helm, this cable goes to the transmission. So once I remove this, I can't operate the boat anymore, but I think I'll probably get around that okay. Other than that, we'll get this out of here, get this mess out of here, and then my window will be this wide. Again, I'm not quite sure you can see that. Okay, more taking apart. Okay, time to take the last of the fiberglass off. As I've mentioned several times before, the whole boat had been modernized. This has all been laminated with fiberglass, the whole inside of the cockpit. This is all fiberglass over mahogany. This has all been fiberglassed in here. The sole is fiberglass, and that's all got to come out. So today it's these two panels, which basically I hit with a heat gun and a putty knife, and it just comes off in sheets. Anyway, let's have a look at how that goes. Cheers. Getting started is a little miserable because you got to get a good edge that you can start to pull on. Of course, I'm also doing a ton of damage to the brand new varnish work I have done here, but that can be fixed. I'll be glad when I just get out of this miserable little corner here. So that's what I like, nice long strip. Now if I'm really lucky, I can take this right around the corner. It won't be the same piece of cloth, but it's probably overlaid enough that I can pull it around the corner and start a new strip. Let's see how we do. Try not to knock you off your tripod. No. Oh well, I did get it connecting with the next strip down. Bah. Well, that wasn't very entertaining. Okay, so back out in the cockpit, the days are getting short and sunny days are getting few and far between, so this is a blessed day. As I mentioned, big plans for the cockpit, the biggest current mess on the boat. It's horrific. So I've removed all the fiberglass from here and here. Last year I took it from there and there. Took all the plywood ceiling out. The only real mess left is this fiberglass sole, which is just going to be miserable to remove and miserable to replace. Also, of course, the rotted bulkhead here. I don't know how much of that is going to be bad. I'm going to guess about 6 or 8 inches. Maybe even a little bit on this side, but I'll find out as I get to it. Anyway, so today, again, because I'm running out of decent weather, I got to make sure I finish as much Brightwork as I can. So that means this. For some reason, I never got around to doing this combing when I was doing the rest of the boat, and the inside of the cabin side here, as well as these two little eyebrow pieces at the top. And to do that, I have to remove the ladder. Anyway, oh, I've got it loose. That was a long time coming. I'll have to keep it nearby so I can get on the bridge deck for the few occasional sunny weather beers. So, yeah, just keep at it. So it's basically sanding, scraping, 2 coats of oil, and then 2 coats of varnish. Let's hope I can get that on before we run into the monsoon season. Okay, back to it. Okay, so there we go. Got some oil on here. Trying to get my head out of the light. Didn't shoot any video of putting it on, basically because the GoPro battery is always dying. Anyway, but I'm pleased. Got a pretty good coat on there. I'll give this a buff out in a little bit. This piece of the cabin sides here is amongst the worst on the boat. All kinds of splits. There's some white body filler and all kinds of junk going on in here. In time, I'll dig that all out and clean that up, but I just don't have time to do that now, as we have to get on with more important tasks. Of course, there's no advantage to repairing any of this section because this is all going to be covered with new mahogany planking after this section is repaired. So it's 2:30, just about as late as I dared put oil on because we'll have dew here by 5, but with oil it's much more forgiving. Seems like such a gorgeous day, you can't imagine we would be getting dew here shortly, but it is October and days are short. Alright, so I'll leave this on here as long as I dare and then give it a rub down, and in the meantime let's go inside and put some oil on the dashboard. Whatever it's called, I've got to figure it out. Cheers.